Hey everybody, it's Tim at Broken Dice. This is turn 3 of the Iberian Laietani tribe versus the Romans solo wargaming project. Um, just working through the new Hail Caesar 2 book. So let's get into turn 3. Turns 1 and 2 are in the last video. Obviously, if you wargame any, you know that when you're doing turn 1, it's a lot of maneuver and stuff like that. So that's why I put 1 and 2 together. So we're going to focus here on turn 3. All right, Iberian orders phase, turn 3. Okay, the Iberian commander has joined up with one of his light infantry units, the Scutari, and he's going to start issuing some orders. The first order he's going to issue is to a unit that you really can't see right here. They're way off at the top, past that rock up there. So we got a picture coming up showing that. He's going to order charges from the units on his right. You can kind of see where the arrows are pointing, where the units are going to charge. Although he wants to take his unit and support the unit that's already engaged with the Roman Allied Light Infantry. So he's going to issue a follow me order for his guys. All right, the unit that was so far away, there was a lot of reduction. It was like 40, it was almost like 40 some inches away, and they actually passed the order and made 2 moves. And you can see that by the 2 little black arrows there. There we go. It kind of gives you an idea in reference to where the Roman column is crossing the ford. And this shows the end position of that unit. This will become much more important later on. All right, Iberian combat phase. All right, all the orders were passed. Crashing in, the one Iberian unit is fighting a Roman light infantry unit. So it's kind of a straight up fight there. The little explosion marker there shows the Iberian commander's unit running into some Roman allied slingers who failed their evade test and they blundered, and so they stood right there and took it on the chin. It didn't go well for them at all. Yeah, they made really light work of them, just went right through them, and were able to join up with the other unit and lend some support. All right, with the addition of the Iberian commander's unit and having won the combat the last time, it really rolled right over those allied light infantry for the Romans. And that was the end of the Iberian phase. Roman orders phase, turn 3. All right. Before we talk about the blunder, as you can see to the right of the photo, the 2 units of Iberian light infantry had to turn and face due to proximity, this Roman cohort. So the Roman commander, who's basically at the top of the screen with that leading units coming over the ford there, he issued an order for this cohort to charge those light infantry. I thought this was going to be a very quick game, end on turn 3, because if this cohort would have gotten in there, I think they would have done some damage to them and basically forced the rest of this division to flee the table. But that's not what happened. Rolled a blunder. And then on the chart, I rolled a 1. The one that where they turn around and they flee direct to 2 movements to the rear. And so that unit that was so far out of combat and was just making its way back to the game is now going to have this Roman cohort standing right in front of it, like that. Now we can kind of, if you want to look at storyline here, this is an example of one of those things where maybe the order was garbled, maybe the guy issuing the command wasn't clear about which light infantry he was supposed to charge. So the story could be anything that you want it to be, but regardless, in the mechanics of the game, they turned around, they fled, they took a point of damage, which almost makes this unit shaken. And you can tell now they're in a really serious position. Instead of being over there where they can just mop up some light infantry, now they have a light infantry unit in front of them that hasn't been engaged yet, has no damage to it, and an Iberian cavalry unit. Now that cavalry unit has taken damage because this was one of the first two turns where the this actual ninth cohort was able to destroy one cavalry unit and run this other one off, make it give ground in disorder. So yeah, this isn't where they want to be, but they've been very victorious up to this point. So we'll see how this turns out. But yeah, this blunder, I think that this right here is one of those moments in every game that we play, and I will go to my grave believing this is why we play, not for all-out victory, not for showing how great our tactics are, but these moments that we go, oh no, now what are we going to do? Because without those, I mean, I don't know, it just wouldn't be very interesting to play. We just let a computer simulator run it out and then, go do something else. This is what we want to play for. This is the sort of thing we want to see. All right. All right. The Roman column finally gets across the ford. He was able to the commander was able to pass his orders by quite a bit. They got 3 moves. So everybody gets over. They form a battle line. And now it looks bad, but it's not that bad. Depending at this cohort that's up at the top of the screen, the 10th, they haven't been engaged at all, so they've suffered no damage. It's going to be how long can this one Roman cohort in the next turn hold out. All right, here we got some archers there. We want to take a little close up. These are my supply markers. These are from Warlord Games. They're just their barnyard animal sets and stuff, and I just put them on little 40mm bases and let them count as foraging points and in the game itself. All right, here's a look from behind the Roman position. You can see that on this side, on this bend of the river, they seem to be in a pretty good spot, although that one light infantry unit that's way out front is in a pretty bad way, but the rest of it, I don't know, doesn't look too bad to me. Here's another close-up of that unit that we'll say that they charged in the opposite direction rather than just retreat, but potato sort of deal. All right, Roman shooting. So a bunch of this light infantry was armed with javelins. They're shooting at their counterparts with light infantry and stuff. That's this Scutari unit to the left here. It's got the red dice behind it. Here we have the archers shooting at them as well. They were able to do a point of damage, I believe, but overall that unit became shaken due to all the shooting. And yeah, here it is. You can see the marker behind them. Red dice counting up how much damage they've taken. And you see the 2 Roman allied light infantry units chucking their javelins. Combat phase. This is where it kind of gets a little wonky. This allied infantry unit is not doing well. They're already shaken and disordered from previous combats. So yeah, they get pushed all over the place and they have to fall back. Now, in the rules, these guys are open order infantry, just like the units that they're fighting. They're open order. And the next unit that they're going to flee through is open order archers. So these guys are going to be able to flee through them, but because they bounce through them, and they're at an angle. They're not going at 90 degrees to the table edge. They're kind of angled right at the table edge. So as they bounce through that unit, run through that unit, they'll run off the table. And you can kind of see at this angle that they're going to clip that unit of archers and probably flee off the table, which they do. Now, this is where I'm going to take a little journalistic license with the rules. As they were pursuing these fleeing light infantry, they run into these archers. But because it wasn't like a sweeping advance and they didn't follow up into the unit they were actually in combat with, I've decided to allow the archers to shoot as like closing shots, but I'm also not giving the Iberian infantry any charge bonuses, because I think it's one of those things where it was one of those where they're kind of disordered by their own pursuit, and so therefore they run into this unit, and they're not in the next round of combat. They're not going to get any charge bonus, but there'll be a straight up fight between these open order skirmishing archers and this open order light infantry. My money's on the open order light infantry, but the way I roll dice, you can never tell. All right, now, correction on this photo. I mistakenly rolled for disorder for those archers as the light infantry was running through them. But since open order troops can move through each other, I made that mistake, and I have corrected it. So in the next turn, these supply markers for the foragers, they'll be back in contact with the unit. And if you look way down there at the bottom left-hand corner, you can kind of see where I put a disordered marker on them. That's been taken away too, because they would not have had to roll for disorder. All right. Here again from behind the Roman lines now. I like this position for them. It's just going to turn out, even if, say they drive these archers back, the Iberians drive these archers back that are in the front line there, I still like this position for the Romans. They've got two undamaged light infantry units in front of a cohort that is at full strength, no damage, and it's going to be supported by some slingers. So I'm telling you, I on this side of the battlefield, I like the way this looks for the Romans. Here's another picture, and the Iberians down here to the bottom left, they're the ones that are shaken because they have taken so much shooting damage. Lucky they didn't flee off, just break from shooting as much as they took. I didn't roll a single 6 or any double 6, so they didn't have to test. So, but now that they're shaken, if they take any more shooting, they will have to automatically test. So we'll see. We will see how this turns out. All right, now here on the other side, this is where the Romans could find themselves in trouble. This is a view from behind that cavalry unit that was in the turn 2 combat with this Roman cohort that's in front of them. They were driven back in disorder. They retreated up through the trees. They never broke. They just had to wait until their disorder marker came off at the end of this turn 3. So now with this Roman cohort, they've turned their flank to them. And the Iberian general at the end of their turn repositioned himself to be with this cavalry unit. So if he does a follow me order, and putting them in the rear of that unit, that could be a different thing. But it'll come down to that roll. The light infantry in front of them, I'm not too worried about that. I think the Romans, even though even shaken, I think I would go with the Roman cohort. But it would be a much nearer run thing. But with this cavalry unit, but they're close to being shaken too. So it'll come down to this combat, I think, in the next turn. All right, this is just another view showing that Roman cohort in its unenviable position. I mean, I think that they could form square, I guess, that's an option, and try to hang in there and survive while the rest of the Roman forces force the Iberians off the table. But we shall see. We shall see. And that brings us to the end of turn 3. Some kind of quirky things happened. I love that when that happens in a game. So if you like this kind of video, this kind of walkthrough, this sort of solo battle report stuff, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, share it around if you want to. Kind of not what I'm doing it for. I do it because I just like to put the stuff out and watch it manipulate itself around the table according to whatever rule system I'm using at the time. Really enjoy it. Uh, this is more about conversation for other people who like this sort of thing. So that's it. Turn 4 will be coming up next week. I think with all that's happened in turn 3, I think turn 4 will be the pivotal moment, and I think it will see one side or the other become victorious. So everybody stay safe, stay well, and another video coming next week.